This whole kick and bass tuning is a little bit overemphasized, in my opinion, because it's not nearly as important as you might think, or like as some other people might think. So basically, 95% of the time, you don't need to tune any sort of kick drum. I'm going to show you just a couple examples which will make a whole lot of sense, but I need a short kick and then a longer kick, and it's we'll go from there. I'm just gonna look for a couple of samples. The actual kicks that don't really matter a whole lot, you know, how do they sound or whatnot. It's just that this is gonna be a good example as well. Yeah, so I want something with a really long tail like this one. So let's start from here, and then we need to come up with a bass pattern. I'm just going to like come up with something real quick. It once again doesn't really matter what the sound is or what what the whole thing is really. It's just so that we'll have a waveform to look at. And also, like, another very important point is like tuning the kick in general makes very little sense in most cases, but when the bass is also moving like up and down, so you have a bass that's melodic, then all of a sudden the bass is going to be at different points in terms of like frequency range. So even if you tuned your kick to one frequency, at the next encounter with the bass, they are going to be clashing at a different frequency if the bass is moving. So where does this whole thing come from? You know, because that's this whole framework of like wanting to tune the kick and the bass. This whole idea comes from not clashing the low end, because it would otherwise like sound weird. Like, for example, if I just solo this bass and I play these two notes, and I'm going to transpose them a little bit higher just so that it's more audible. It's not even set to polyphonic. 1 second, where is it? Poly here. So for example, this type of sound is what you want to avoid, like, because this is like this sounds weird, right? I mean, we can probably all agree, because these two frequencies are too close to each other, but in a very low frequency range, and these things to our human ears and to our human perception are sounding like muddy, weird, bad directly. I don't really know how to describe this properly, but you can hear it with your own ears that this is just not something good, you know. Like this is the whole idea behind wanting to tune the kick and the bass together, so that, you know, they stay in the same like kind of frequency, so that they both play, for example, a G, or like, but it could be any other note. It doesn't matter, but like, because this way you can very clearly hear what the tonality is, and so this is the whole idea behind tuning. But tuning the kick to the bass is in most cases not going to be a great solution, partly because of what I described earlier about if the bass is moving. So with a constantly sounding bass like this, I could also just tune my kick to D sharp, and, you know, we could say that, you know, we solved the issue. But in reality, in many cases, like, a bass is going to be like some sort of a progression. So once again, I'm just coming up with something like real quick. It doesn't really have to be like anything extraordinary. But now, so let's say I tune my kick to D sharp, and then there are these bass notes which, once again, you know, won't really help me with anything regarding like finding the solution to the low end clash. So in general, this type of tuning won't really help us unless the bass is playing only one note, like how we started out, like this. And another thing that I want to kind of touch on is so let's actually revert to how we were with the bass notes, and I'm going to show you the waveform, because this is where this is going to make a whole lot more sense all of a sudden. And this is also why many people are opting to use, for example, sidechain instead of any sort of tuning, because it just makes makes life easier, and then you don't even have to really be too worried. So the problem is obviously going to be happening between like roughly more or less like these parts where the low end frequencies of the kick are pretty much like present, and then they are coincide with the bass. And it's this problem here, for example, this only is present for like this 1/4 of a downbeat. So it's not really all that much. But when you have longer kick drums, and this is why I was looking for longer kick drums earlier, like you can now see very clearly that you have like this long of a coinciding regions. And for example, in situations like this, the solution overall is going to be to reduce the length of the kick's tail, especially if you have very long basses, because it's pretty much one or the other. Tuning the kick only will ever make sense if the bass is only playing that same one note. If that note is changing, that is playing here, then the kick once again would need to be tuned, and it doesn't really sound super good if you constantly tune the kick up or down with how your bass is moving up and down. And yeah, I mean, actually, let's just listen to examples like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also make these notes longer so that we can hear this effect even better. And just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to do it like this, so that the different kick drums on different channels. So as I've explained this earlier, this whole idea about tuning the kick and the bass, so this whole thing only makes sense if the bass plays one note. So essentially, every single time your bass is like moving up or down, or there's a progression that it follows, tuning the kick won't really make tuning the kick won't achieve the solution that you're looking for, which is essentially low end clarity. So what are the alternatives to this type of solution? And of course, I'm going to show how to tune if you just for tuning's sake you still want to tune your kick, but it's not really a my issue, what I just said, is that this is not really a solution to the problem that you're looking to solve. It doesn't really work, because if the bass is moving, then this is already out of the window. And then for multiple reasons, if you have long basses, then these are going to be occupying the low end frequency anyway. You don't really going to need long kick drums, and this is what I want to kind of try to demonstrate here. Is what's going to happen if you have a short kick drum, for example, playing together with this bass. So let's say I'm going to like reduce the tail even a little bit more. So as you listen to this, my honest question is, does the kick tuning matter in a situation like this? Because I don't think so. Like there's no way to hear at what note the kick drum is playing. So basically, letting the bass, and I'm going to actually print this so that you can see the waveform, because it makes more sense to show it like this. So you have these bass notes like from here to here to here to here to here. But the whole point is that from this point until this point, the low end is essentially solved. So the purpose of the kick drum is essentially just a rhythmic purpose. It's not really a melodic purpose, because the bass is also like a melody. It's just a very low melody. So long story short, if you really truly want to find any sort of solution to kick bass causing frequency clashes, then your primary solution is to make sure that the kick length, or the tail of the actual kick, is not that long. Because in a situation like this, the kick is playing for such a short period of time that the tuning won't really make any sort of difference. Instead of having it like this long. So 9 out of 10 times, I would say the issue is not really whether you tune the kick or not, but you left the tail for way too long periods of time, which is just frankly like this is not a problem that you can solve with anything other than this, because otherwise you're just going to have clashing, and there's no solution to clashing if the bass is moving. So if the bass would play one note, then tuning might become some sort of a solution that you can look for. But even then, I would just much rather recommend to get rid of the tail, because in terms of like what your perception of what's sounding from a kick drum, what you expect is essentially this thumping feeling that gives you the rhythm. Is the boom, 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 boom. Nothing really else. So you don't necessarily need a long tail for a kick drum. It's not really a it's not something that you expect from a kick drum, especially if you have like any sort of other bass that would occupy the low end frequency ranges. It's kind of a different discussion if we only have a kick drum that would play in the low end regions, because in these cases you want as long kick drums as possible because you kind of want to like make sure that the low end frequencies are occupied. But to directly answer this question is actually how you can like tune a kick. It's like in Logic, it's pretty easy. You load up a sampler, and I'm just gonna go with the quick sampler, but it could be the I don't even know how it's called. Yeah, it's sampler, but the quick sampler is going to be easy for our use case right now, and it's much easier to do it. So you can just drag and drop any sample into it, and then you have this fine-tuning option, and yeah, you can just treat this as you would treat any other MIDI instrument. I'm not sure which note is this. Roughly this one. But the whole point is that you can tune it like this. If you really truly need to tune it, but as I've said, tuning is for the mixing issues that you're looking to solve. Tuning is never really going to be like a good enough solution for it. So it's just something that I don't think makes any sort of sense thinking about, because it's not really a great solution for low end getting rid of that low end rumbling. What is actually a solution is to make sure that your kick tail is not that long, so that it doesn't coincide with the bass. Sorry, with the bass more than how much it is necessary to do so. So yeah, hopefully this makes sense.